through this whole crisis, workers are really the people that are bearing the brunt. They're carrying the weight of the country on their back, whether they're being laid off and asked to stay at home, whether they are being forced to work in unsafe working conditions. They're like, workers are the ones that are carrying the country. Workers are the ones that are feeling the hurt from this. It's not the executives. It's not the CEOs, as much as they want to, you know, have crocodile tears on the TV. They're not the ones that are hurting from this. It's the workers. So we've got a few stories that really kind of underscore that. The first one is that hospitals are firing and threatening to fire doctors that tell the public about the conditions inside the hospitals. That's insane. I mean, it's not insane to me because I know how bosses treat their workers, and I know that workplaces they're private dictatorships. That they are dictatorial places. You do not have freedom of speech in your workplace. You do not have freedom of speech about your workplace. And this just underscores the need to extend democracy and rights and all of that to the workplace, because the fact that the fact that doctors are being threatened with retaliation for telling the public important information that is relevant to their health is just awful. It is abhorrent. It makes me sick to my stomach that doctors are being threatened that way.
Yeah, well, not just doctors. I mean, look at this Navy. I don't know if he was a captain, Brett Crozier. You know, he's begging for help for his and we'll call it what it is. They're workers. Most of them joined up to get the free college, but you know, he's begging for help for his Navy workers out there on the ship, and what do? They walk him off the ship, you know. And here's the wonderful thing, and I hate that he was walked off the ship, that he was fired from his post. But the fact that he got a standing ovation as they was walking him off the ship really speaks to, that is what leadership is about, you know. It's
It's really unbelievable. But like him, workers are standing up across the country, speaking out for what they believe. There are doctors that are doing that, nurses that are doing that. Amazon workers have went on strike. Instacart workers have went on strike for better conditions, for better pay, for hazard pay, for personal protective equipment, for PPE, for social
There's
distancing.
a lot of rumblings right now.
Yes, a lot of rumblings, and justified rumblings. And some commentators out there are calling for the firing of these workers because they do not believe that they should be entitled to hazard pay. They don't believe that these workers deserve any more for working in the time of during a pandemic. And those same commentators support the right of corporations to price gouge during crises because that's the free market. And that's how we know that that prices are where they should be and whatever. So, you know, just to be clear, the line is where it's okay to price gouge vulnerable people, working people, poor people. It's okay to charge them exorbitant prices for the things that they need to live. And it is not okay for workers to say that I deserve better pay, better protections, paid leave, because I am risking my life going to work for you and supporting my country, carrying my country on my back. It is not okay for them to say that they deserve more. It's okay for the corporations to take advantage of their workers, take advantage of the community. It's not okay for the workers to ask for a little bit more.
Yeah. Here's where we're at. You know, I said it earlier in the week. Here's where we're at. We're back to 1920s, 1930s West Virginia coal mines where they tell you, if you don't like the working conditions, quit. If you die, we'll roll another body in. We got them lined up out here. And that's where we're at right now. That, I mean, all these essential workers, all of these supposed essential workers, and I recognize, man, the nurses, the doctors, the food providers, the people, and the low-wage workers that didn't deserve $15 an hour 3 months ago, now all of a sudden are being forced to work in absolute terrible, and when I say terrible conditions, I don't mean they're rolling around in pig shit. What I mean is they're being forced to work around people that are potentially sick, and they're not being provided any PPE whatsoever.
And they're being told in some cases not to bring in homemade PPE because they don't want to frighten the customers.
Yeah, the same people that didn't deserve all those hamburger workers. If they want $15 an hour, they should get out and get a real job. Well, guess what? They got a real job now.
Yeah.
While all of y'all are sitting at home.
Right. And you know, I've just been amazed at how much this has, in my mind, really undercut the theory that a lot of the theory of skilled labor, or that some labor is more valuable or important to people's lives than another. Like, obviously, you know, I'm not going to say that some jobs don't require a higher measure of intelligence, or maybe some jobs require a different skill set, or maybe even a more difficult skill set. But but the thing is that those jobs literally would not exist if we don't have people picking fruits, if we don't have people stocking shelves, if we don't have people making deliveries for you, if we don't.
No, you said it at the beginning. The beginning of your statement was some jobs have a better relevance to the lives of people than others. Well, guess what? Those are the low-paid workers that we're dealing with now. Those are the ones we're relying on to stock the shelves. How many people's went to the grocery store in the last 2 weeks and not been able to find the things that they need? You know, those are the folks that we are absolutely, literally counting on our daily sustenance.
Right.
And everybody thinks that they're low-wage, useless jobs. Yeah, you may not have to have an education to stock a shelf, but I guarantee you, everybody in this state is wishing they would stock the shelves quicker than what they're doing right now.
Right. Yeah, and you know, like, you cannot have these ostensibly higher skilled jobs without these low skilled jobs.
Exactly. We're relying on them.
Everything is built on the backs of these workers making $7, $8, $9, $10, $5 an hour for these undocumented immigrants that are working under the table. You know, like, everything in this country is built on their backs. It is impossible to have without them, and no one values, and they are not being compensated thusly. They are not
even $5 an hour for these undocumented immigrants that are grabbing the chickens out of the chicken houses where they're paying them a dime a chicken to stick them in cages. Dime a chicken.
Yep, it's sickening, but you know, I'm hopeful that there are going to be folks that come out of this that have a greater appreciation for the work that those kinds of folks do, and a greater realization of how much more fundamentally important it is that they exist and that they're compensated than it is for Jeff Bezos to have, you know, half a dozen mansions across the world. You know,
it's unfortunate what we value in these times.
Yes,
but I think it's changing.
I do think it's changing. I think that there's a lot of folks that are you know coming to that realization, and I hope that this crisis encourages more folks to come to that realization. Speaking of Jeff Bezos, Amazon fired one of their strike organizers, and you mentioned earlier that we're not ones to lavish praise on Nancy Pelosi and the like uncritically. Well, here's a chance to to talk about that. Obama's one of Obama's former administration officials, Jay Carney, I can't remember what he did, but he's now like a PR officer for Amazon. And he is leading a smear campaign against a strike organizer for Amazon. This person was some middle manager or something, and he cared about the employees that he was directed to supervise. And so he organized a walkout, and he has been fired for that. And now Amazon, led by Jay Carney, this Obama administration official, is saying that he was fired because he violated some social distancing protocol that is just obviously not true. He was obviously fired because he organized a strike. He organized a walkout, and Amazon didn't like that. They didn't like their workers getting uppity. They didn't like their workers feeling like they deserved sick pay or feeling like they deserved hazard pay or quarantine time or anything like that. And so now, we've got a leading Democrat leading a charge smearing a union organizer. I mean, it's just, it's crazy.
It's not crazy. I mean, I've said it for quite some time. I get it. I get why a solid blue state like Alabama would, over the course of 10 to 20 years, elect Trump and elect a solid red legislature and governor. And it's, I get it, because for the past 20 years, the Democrats have turned their backs on the working class of America, and especially the Southern working class, but the working class of America. The Democrats, they're nowhere to be found. And when they are to be found, they're passing NAFTA, they're passing CAFTA, they're passing TPP. I mean, God, as much as I hate to praise Trump, one of the first things he done was come in and squash TPP, which Obama was trying his absolute best to ram through there as quickly as possible. Like there's anything else the American worker needs is another crap trade agreement. So I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah. It's not, it's not incomprehensible to me that people feel like Democrats are not the party of the working class because they're not the party. They're not the party of the working.
They're not. They're not any longer.
Right. They've got top administration officials spearing workers for having the gall to think that they should be treated with dignity. I mean, it's just not. The Democratic Party has always been a cross-class institution.
Yep.
And it's been a big tent party, and there are
to their detriment.
Yeah, to their detriment. There are some working class interests represented in the Democratic Party where there are almost no working class interests represented in the Republican Party. But
we fight for it. We have to fight in our own party for it.
That's exactly right. And it's important to build institutions outside of the party, like unions, like activist groups, because the party left to its own devices is going to be following what its donors are telling them. And the donors are telling them, screw over workers, give me more money, and you can do whatever social, liberal things. Like if, I don't care about that stuff. I just want to be rich. That's, that's what their donors are telling them. And so they'll throw a bone or two on some social issues, but to make them really do good economic things for the working class, we have to have these outside power institutions that are pushing them to do those good things. And that's one of the myriad of reasons why institutions like unions are so important.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
You just watched a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We're in North Alabama talking about the news for workers by workers. We're going to be on the radio on 92.5 FM, 770 AM in the Huntsville, Decatur, Athens listening area on Saturdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. beginning in May. We believe that this is a really good opportunity to put new ideas in front of a conservative talk show audience. This is an audience that has never so much as heard the word union in a positive light. But we need help raising the funds to purchase the airtime. So if you could afford to send us a few bucks, you can do that by going to patreon.com/the Valley Labor Report. If you can't afford to do that, that's fine too. There are a lot of people going through some really rough times right now. So if you could just share our videos, that would be really helpful. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.